Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne is the largest of the state war memorials in Australia. It was designed in the 1920s by the architectural firm Hudson and Wardrop, and Hudson in particular wrote quite a lot in the process of that design about the fact that the First World War had helped to shape Australia as a nation, as a young nation, and he felt it was appropriate to go for inspiration to ancient Greek architecture, to a Greek temple of democracy, as his inspiration for this building. A further inspiration is the mausoleum of Halicarnassus, which was one of the ancient wonders of the world, no longer existing and hasn't for some time, but over the centuries it had really captured people's imagination, and many people had done drawings of it. And on the basis of those drawings, he also shaped this building. And the reason for that is that it was a mausoleum, and so it's funerary architecture. It has had a great influence over the centuries on that kind of architecture. And if nothing else, even if the public were not familiar with that reference to the mausoleum, they would see it as a place of great solidity and permanence. But the reference to Greek democracy in his choice of the porticos, of the porches to the north and south of the shrine with their Doric columns, is an important one, because Australia was a young democracy and our armed forces, the first AIF, was a particularly democratic institution which was made up entirely of volunteers. There are more than one reference, in fact, within the shrine to those democratic ideals. Another is the fact that in our books of remembrance, which are inside in the ambulatory which surrounds the sanctuary, there are books of remembrance recording the names of all the Australians who served abroad. So 114,000 Victorians, I should say, enlisted in the First World War, and 89,000 of them went abroad. Those names are listed purely alphabetically, without rank, in a very democratic gesture. Another thing I think to mention about the porticos is that above each of them, the north and south, and behind me is the north portico, are what is called timpana, the triangular-shaped frieze of sculpture above those columns. And the one to the north is called a call to arms, and the one to the south is called the homecoming. And in a call to arms, again very much inspired by ancient Greek sculpture, the central figure is an archaic Greek goddess, and she's calling the soldiers to arms. To one side of her are the enthusiastic young warriors. There's musicians singing songs, patriotic songs, and generally reference, I think, to the patriotism that led people to go to defend their country. On the other side is showing more the impact of war and the destruction of war. So both aspects are shown on the north tympana. On the south, the homecoming, which I should say was originally the main entrance to the shrine. It later reverted to the north side, which is where the Anzac Day March comes up now. But to the south, the homecoming features a lovely figure of a young man standing in a shell, and he's picking fruit from an abundant tree, and he has the seahorses of Neptune to either side of his feet. And that is much more about the home front, on the one side about the riches of pastoral Australia, and on the other side about education, about the arts and the importance of education. And I really like the fact that when the shrine was built, it wasn't only about looking across the world to where we fought, it was also about the home front.